for me on the steps of the old building.
Mr. Payne, let's go inside. The others are anxious to begin.
The others?
Despite the general misconception, this building actually predates the City Hall by 2 years, thus being the oldest municipal building still in use here at the foot of the Brooklyn Bridge.
No kidding. The old man played tour guide as he led me through a dark domed hall. The answers I was after loomed large ahead.
So now Max is in the Asgard building, a building that is older than the city. The city is meant to be like a Midgard, like how Midgard is in Final Fantasy VII. That's the city. The city is like the establishment of human constructions, and this building is before that. It's also near the foot of the Brooklyn Bridge. Bridges in Norse mythology are about connections between two separate things rather than an actual bridge. So we have in Norse mythology the Rainbow Bridge, which is part of Asgard. Asgard is led to other places through a rainbow bridge. The rainbow bridge is called something like Bifrost or Bifrost, something like that, and it is also burning. It is a spiritual connection between the gods and the human. Burning is a fire. Fire is spiritual, in the same way that the sun is like a god, spiritual. Now what's interesting is that the god Heimdallr stands before the rainbow bridge to blow a horn when Ragnarok appears. The bridge is meant to be destroyed during Ragnarok by the forces of the Muspel, and Muspel is the realm of fire owned by Surtur. So Surtur and his forces destroy this bridge. If only they had the funding to destroy the bridge in this game, that would have been amazing. So in the remake, if they destroy the Brooklyn Bridge and have Nicole Horn kind of declare the destruction and they have it burned down and everything, that would have been amazing to have because it would have fit perfectly with this mythology. But sadly they didn't have that, and I don't think they would ever have a bridge in this kind of game because that's just really big to make. That's a hard thing to do with this limited technology they had back then, but who knows if they're going to do that in the remake. That would actually help the remake if they put a bridge level. But there's also another bridge called Galdabru. I can't pronounce these things. But there's actually another bridge which goes over a river in the underworld, and it must be crossed in order to reach Hell. So to reach Hell, you must cross this bridge. Again, it would have been perfect to have a bridge level, but they didn't. They just kind of mentioned it. But either way, the bridge that connects Midgard to Asgard is the Brooklyn Bridge, in this case, which is the Rainbow Bridge. And it's rainbow not because it's LGBT, but it's rainbow because rainbow is like a result after rain, and it's in the sky, so it's like a connection of water, earth, fire, and air. And when it connects all these colors, because colors are associated with these elements, it's like a combination of elements creates this bridge. And unification of these elements creates the bridge, which is why it's rainbow. Rainbow is also the coat that they have in the Bible that, I forgot who gets it. Somebody gets a rainbow coat, but rainbow is about like unifications of things that are separate categories in order to create this new element called a rainbow. And that's the symbolism behind it, is like unifications of separate things, which is also kind of what the LGBT does with their rainbow flag, but in a different way. It's, what do you call it? It's a co-opt of the old way of doing things, which is why symbolism like this is more meaningful, while the new symbolism, which is kind of enforced, it's not as meaningful. So before anybody goes, oh, Erwin, where are you talking about the LGBT? It's like, I'm just talking about this specific thing so people don't go, oh, maybe Max Payne is doing some kind of LGBT thing. No, it's not. Nothing like that at all. So Rockstar, don't you dare put something like that in there, or else it's not going to make any sense. And then it says the old man played tour guide as he led me through a dark domed hall. So dome, a sphere overhead. The sphere overhead is like a firmament where he's kind of separated from the sky above. So here he's with Woden, and Woden's showing him that there's this dome above, the sphere above. And that's kind of like saying, it's like, hey, check it out, this is one realm, and then outside is another realm. And that's how people have always been seeing things. That's why dome structures exist from the old days. It's to represent the world and the realm that you're living in. The dome symbolizes resurrection under Christianity, which is why we have a burial of heroes in dome structures. Churches have a dome. Old American structures have domes like the White House. In Islam, it represents the vault of heaven in the same way as a garden prefigures paradise. So resurrection, also technically like an infinity, because a circle, a sphere has like infinite corners. So there's a lack of edges in this kind of thing, which is also another symbol for spirituality, because there's a lack of edges, there's lack of corners. So when you have a dome above you, it's the same way as when you look up in the sky, it's like a dome above you, because Earth is kind of rounded, sky is kind of rounded, and you see this dome of stuff above you. And that's always kind of been a cosmological way of looking at things. Even if we believe that the Earth didn't have a bottom, really, we didn't believe it was like an entirely complete circle. Like a lot of older cosmological things believe that like the world was a circle, like a sphere, and then in the sphere had like a bunch of water at the bottom, and then there was land kind of floating on top of this water, and then there are these pillars that are connecting the land in the middle to the very bottom, which is some kind of like an opposite of super air, which is aether. And that's how realms are seen. That's why when you look at anything about the parts of the Yggdrasil, they're always like circles. You know, they're never like a square, even though we believe in like the four corners of the world, some people do. There's never like a square look to these realms in the Yggdrasil. And that's why that's why the whole idea of a domed hall is important, because this is the realm of the Asgard. And they're showing you this is like a realm. And it's very similar to how in American architecture, we created domed halls as well. We created this kind of religious looking thing, even though we wanted to be secular in America, but we weren't really secular, we were just another form of religion. And that's where civil religions and all that other stuff comes in. But my main point is that even if a deist, like the deist founding fathers of America, wanted to have something, they still related it to the past, which is what Odin's kind of telling them here. It's like, there's a past that was there, and then all this civilization got built upon this past, and the past didn't really get erased yet. So this is still sacred. This is still the past existing. We haven't had this building burned down yet. It's existed longer than the city. Meanwhile, the buildings that Pt21 made, they're all burning down. They're all going through this Ragnarok. They're all crumbling. And that's where he says the answers I was after loomed large ahead. There were large answers ahead, large, giants, Jotun. It's all connected to this word large, and that's why loom large ahead is such a great way to say it, because there's answers about the giants that are ahead, given to him by Alfred Woden, the god of wisdom. He's going to give Max wisdom here. And you can also say, to make it more clear for people to understand now, Woden here is like the Obi-Wan Kenobi, alright? He's trying to guide Max into becoming the rebellious Luke Skywalker kind of thing.
Mr. Payne, I would like to introduce you to my colleagues in what we call the Inner Circle.
You've been watching too much X-Files.
You have seen the files on Project Valhalla. We can fill the gaps, provide you with the information missing from those files. We were all involved in the early stages of the project during the Gulf War.
What's the catch?
We would very much like to blow this thing wide open, but our hands are tied.
Okay, so now we see Alfred Woden with his eye patch that's kind of under his glasses. I try not to laugh. It reminds me when in SpongeBob, Patchy the Pirate puts on glasses and he has like an eye patch over his glasses. It looks kind of like that, so yeah, it does look a little bit silly when it's like that, but Woden lost an eye. And Odin lost an eye. You know, Woden, Odin, whatever you want to call it. He lost an eye in Norse mythology willingly in order to gain knowledge. He sacrificed part of his physical senses to gain inner senses, and that's why we have this thing called the Inner Circle. It's a circle, it's spiritual, it's infinite, and it is inner. It's from within. It's the wisdom that's from within, and that's in relation to the Aesir, which are the gods. And these gods are in the Asgard building. And he says, you've seen the files on Project Valhalla. Valhalla is not meant to be part of Asgard, it's something separate. And he says we can fill in the gaps. The gaps, in this case, are in relation to the gap everything came from when everything was created. So gaps in Norse mythology are in relation to ginnungagap, which is the void where everything came from. And this is how a lot of polytheistic stories went. There is a void, a gap, and then the gods, as well as the titans, the Jotun, filled in the gaps. So we have stuff that is there, and stuff that controls things. and the gods are designed to control things. They're meant to control the elements and anything that's there because they are the source of order, while the giants are more like a source of chaos. This is why Earth, in something like Greek mythology, is represented by Gaia, a titan, while the sky is also a titan, Uranus. But then there's the gods like Zeus, who control, the god of gods, and there's also gods of sky, gods of sun. And these are the things, these are the orders that control things, while the chaos is just something that exists there without much control. And so the inner circle is a wisdom that's within and causes the order. And then Max kind of like brings in things back to modernity and says, well, you've been watching too much X-Files. It's like, this is a conspiracy theory thing going on. Just because you're an inner circle doesn't mean you actually control things, but Woden's like, nah, we control things, we're gods. We were all involved in the early stages of the project during the Gulf War. And so Woden is tied to this Valhalla, and his hands are tied because he can't stop the thing. The thing is going out of control. This is something that they lack control in because they were involved with it. And so Project Valhalla was a way to create Ragnarok, or at least Ragnarok was caused by this Project Valhalla. Whether Project Valhalla caused Ragnarok or Ragnarok extended Project Valhalla, or Project Valhalla was a reaction to Ragnarok coming, it doesn't really matter, because either way, both of these are involved, and both of these things happened. It's just that Woden and the other gods are involved with Project Valhalla, not quite involved with Ragnarok being processed. And when I say Ragnarok being processed, I mean that Ragnarok began when Max's wife was shot. His family was killed. That's when Ragnarok started, because it was the end of the world, and then now he's in this renewal phase with a lot of fire behind him.
Her name is Nicole Horn. She was the key figure in Project Valhalla. When the funding was discontinued, she simply refused to quit. She knew exactly what she had in her hands. Nicole Horn is the president of Acer Corporation. She has more than half the city in her pocket. This must be kept under wraps. If you try to go public with this, we will deny any knowledge. We need you to take her out. Afterwards, we can protect you. Make all the charges go away.
Alright, so here, Woden is starting to look a little bit sinister. You can see the shadows, and he's like, well, we can make all the charges go away that you had on you. And now you're kind of thinking, well, who exactly put those charges there in the first place? Somebody framed me, and somebody led me to this whole direction. And now you guys come in after I killed BB and say, yeah, I can tell you who this person is. That's actually the Acer Corporation person. So Woden looks a little bit sinister here because it looks like he's trying to control Max as the new villain. And if that's the case, I wouldn't really mind it, but I'm not sure who caused the charges in the first place. Whether it was Nicole Horn or whether it was the Inner Circle, we're not sure. I think it gets left open, but I'll have to see further. But so far, Woden looks sinister here, and we're supposed to feel like he's sinister, like he's like, alright, we gave you charges, we led you all the way to this position that you're in now, we controlled your fate this whole time, and if you do what we want you to do more, then we can remove the charges. And this is actually pretty good for a noir villain. I wish that Woden was a villain in this case, but later on, I think Max goes back to Woden, and then I think Woden survives. I don't remember. Second game's a little bit forgetful. But we'll see further into that one. Nicole Horn has her name understood as a giant. She's meant to be a giant, and it shows here that she's above the city as a giant woman with Valkyrie in her hands. She's not necessarily controlling the city, she's just ruling over it as a form of existing over the city. And she has more than half the city in her pocket, so she's kind of like a rising giant, a new giant that's transforming. And we can say that this is very similar to the giant that Loki has sex with to create Fenrir and Hel and the Midgard Serpent. So I believe now that the Midgard Serpent is more like Valkyrie, but also combined with the Valkyrie. It's like a corruption of Valkyrie and the Midgard Serpent. And I believe Nicole Horn is more like the giant, what's her name? The one who's married to Loki. I can't remember her name. Asgard, right? And so the Project Valhalla was funded. So this was created by the government, which was helped by the Inner Circle. Then they discontinued the funding, but Nicole Horn refused to quit. She knew exactly what she had in her hands. She knew she had this poison that could control people in her hands. I guess you can also say that this is where the feminine aspect of the giant is trying to control things, trying to become the god, and this is what causes corruption. You know, it's a lack of control while trying to demand control. It's an ironic form of order that is completely chaotic. Tyranny versus actual control. And that's where she kind of creates this corporation called the Iser Corporation. It's like a corrupted form of this. A corrupted form of gods. Because it's a corporation, but it's also the Iser. So the Iser are gone, the actual controllers are gone, and now it's become this corporation, this mass of nonsense that is chaotic. Then Woden says, we need to keep this under wraps, need to keep it hidden. If you make this public, we will deny any knowledge. So the public should not know about this, only Max, because he is the individual, he is the personal person. This is an inner thing, not an outer thing. Once the outer understands what's going on, then the inner is not allowed to accept it, because it's been revealed. And also it's a terrible thing to reveal this kind of thing, because the outer, the public, is Nicole Horn. So you cannot let the tyrannical false controller know that the inner is trying to regain control. In Jungian philosophy, there's the shadow, and Nicole Horn does feel like she's more or less the shadow of the city, the public. So she's this corporation that's controlling everything, and this is in a shadow way. It's like doing the most darkest, destructive things that are possible, beyond the imagination of the victim of the shadow. And everybody has a shadow, including the city. The city's shadow is kind of like how the Germans call a Volkgeist, you know, a spirit or a ghost of the area, of the people. And that's why he should not let it go public, because the Volkgeist has been corrupted by the shadow already, and Max has to remove the shadow, or at least it's kind of hard to explain this one, because the shadow shouldn't be removed. You can't remove it, you just create a new shadow. All you have to do is merge and kind of not let the shadow control you, but still accept that it's there. And that's what Max has to do when he takes on Nicole Horn. The shadow's still there, you just can't remove it, which is another way of saying crime and injustice is always going to be there in the city. You can't remove it just by taking out a kingpin or a corporate CEO. That doesn't work. You have to accept that it's going to exist, but also don't let it control the place. That's why he says you need to take her out. Because you need to take out the corruption. You need to remove the corruption from this particular regard, but you can't remove corruption in general, just this particular one that's taken out the order.
That was the cue for the killer suits to kick in the doors and swarm inside.
Oh no, killer suits.
It was an impressive floor show, but I decided to leave early anyway. It was only a one-story fall. Lucky me.
Yeah, only. Santa Claus, Santa Claus, he is a Santa Claus. Alright, let's get out of here. Jackhammer. The plan is to go back inside. Why? I don't know. Alright, here's the lasers. This basement looks like a church. Or like that cellar in Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Oop, here's the guy. And he got me. Alright, I blew him away. I'm gonna blow all of you. Wait, no, not like that. Or is it like that? Oop. Oh. These must be really heavy cardboard boxes. He was not going to survive. But if he did, I would turn the frickin' game off. Seriously? 4 shotgun rounds? I think I missed only part of one, right? Kick, flip to get a grenade, and there's a guy! Damn, I'm blocked. He's using some kind of brick and mortar force shield. Phew! Dodged that one and I got up. That was like the scariest thing in this game, trying to get up and a million guys are stomping on you like they're wearing whitey tighties. Let me guess, a grenade? Go ahead, throw anything at me, I can take it. Okay, there's nobody. Good, good, good. This is a moving trap. It's a sniper. And he's walking away. And he's coming back. Run away! Ah, the security room. And more shotgun I don't need. Broken computer, pills that I need dearly. Oh, yum yum. I can see everybody peeing here. Oh no!
One of the monitors showed what was left of the inner circle.
Goes the camera. Wait, I see something. Zooms into Mona Sachs taking a big fat dump. Face red, squeezing it out like there's no tomorrow.
On screen, the so-called corpse of Alfred Woden stood up, miraculously waking from his dirt nap, looking smug among his dead pals. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I didn't know how he'd pulled it off, but it was a pretty slick way to get out of all his promises. Most of what he had said fit too well to be a load of crap.
Smack says on screen the so-called corpse of Alfred Woden stood up miraculously walking from his dirt nap, looking smug among his dead pals. In Norse mythology, Odin hung himself, and he also experienced death in other ways. This revival from death is a way for the game to show that Woden faked his death, and it seems that the hired goons who are in the building are more like people hired possibly by Woden to take out the other members of the inner circle to then have Woden be believed dead so that he can escape the whole thing as well. They don't want to be tied to the Valhalla project, so if all of them are dead, nobody can tie them to it. And that's where Max says it's a pretty slick way to get out of all of his promises. You pretend that you're dead so you don't have any more obligations from your past self. And that's what happened to Max, where he was believed to be dead, and he was believed to be the murderer of his own family. And that's why Max, where he's looking at the camera with his like little like, huh? Kind of face. That's where he's saying that it fit too well to be a load of crap. The guy wasn't lying, there's this big conspiracy going on, there's powers stronger than he can ever imagine, and now he's getting involved in it. And this is what escalates the plot into like a legendary aspect. It makes the plot really big, it makes it grand, very grandiose. So even though you're in these very small enclosed spaces, the story is taking place pretty much all over the world. It would have been better if something like the second game was even bigger as a conspiracy theory. It would have been better if they expanded upon the whole inner circle thing, probably bringing in more circles. Maybe there could be more mythologies to work off of. Inner circles working as pantheons of gods. And these people are gods, so this is like the Norse one, there could be a Greek one, there can be a Celtic one, there can be a Egyptian one, Chinese one, anything. Anything could have been better than what they did in 2. 2 was where they started to just trail off, and instead of being more grandiose and trying to expand upon this conspiracy, nope, remove all of that, get rid of it, go more towards Max's love story with Mona. It's just... Sorry if I want to complain about Max Payne 2, but it's like, I was playing a little bit of it between this playthrough, and I'm like, this is nothing like the first one. You know, even my childhood adolescence brain could understand that this was like a completely different game. It's not the same. It's a completely different direction. Not bad at all, not bad at all, but it's a completely different direction, which is why people don't like it as much. I guess the only other thing to mention is that when he says the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, Odin is king because he has the wisdom, he has the inner vision, thanks to his lack of an eye, which was sacrificed to gain this inner vision. He is a king in this land of the blind because the people don't know what's going on. Everybody is unaware of all the stuff, thanks to him, because it's an inner circle. And that heavily relates to how using our vision to see the outside blinds us from what's happening within, and also beyond our own visual sight. The blindness is not just because of eyes. The blindness is also a mental blindness, meaning there's a lack of understanding, lack of wisdom, lack of intelligence, lack of knowledge. And this happens to anybody who is under the influence of some kind of tyranny, because they have to be blinded to the truth in order to obey. And this is a perfect, what would you call that? Is it an idiom? Idiom, slogan, saying, whatever you want to say. It's a perfect one for something that's meant to be punk and individualistic. You know, even if you have only one eye, even if you have sacrificed your eye to see the more important wisdom within, you're still going to be higher than those who are blind. And Max seems to have one eye in the whole situation too. Speaking of one eye, I heard that Max has quite the one-eyed monster. I love how much blood there is in this game. That's another thing about the second game that's different. I don't remember blood in the second game. And the shotgun felt like it has a silencer. And the other gun sounds sucked. Oh no! How do they dodge all those bullets? It's probably going for headshots. Oh yeah, and they switched to Commando with an AK, which sounds and handles like a turd slapping a ceiling fan. Can't wait to be disappointed. Oh no! Okay. Phew! It was only a muzzle top. It wasn't a grenade. Fire bottles are for pussies. Oh boy. Of course I'm going to be using these, huh? This place is huge. And as a reminder, we are in the Asgard building, so this is like the complex of the gods. This is bigger than the Asgard and Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Y'all remember that game? Oh wait, I forgot to check for pills. Pills here! Or I guess pills are not here. Check the elevator. It's broken. Someone didn't pay for their elevator bill. How are we supposed to be moving on up? We finally got a piece of... Oh, there's a guy. You're damn right I watched it, Jefferson. And now you try to get to that elevator and they threw a bunch of grenades down. And here they come. Thank you, stairs, for taking up all my bullets. This game has a weird targeting system. I couldn't imagine if it was first person and you try to aim down the sights or anything, outside of the sniper rifle. I can't tell if this game inspired the dot for aiming in Grand Theft Auto 4. Am I lost again? Jingle bells, Odin smells. Max Payne laid an egg. The Max Payne mobile lost a wheel. Oh no! And the coal horn got away. Hey! I love those drums from this like soundtrack. Need more of that. Totally like a John Woo thing, isn't it? That early 90s, 80s synthwave. If they remake this game, they're gonna get rid of that. It's gonna be sad. I hate music, but not I hate music. Okay. Game music now sucks, thank you. An office space. Where's Michael Scott? They expect us to just like jump over these things while sucking me in. I never worked in an office, but I'm sure it's utter hell. Trapped in a cubicle, surrounded by farts, having to wear a tie. Can't see! Max Payne's big stupid body's in the way. Oh, the woes of third person. Morpheus? Nah man, it's Earl, I need to borrow your stapler. Oh dude, you totally got me. That Chappelle shit skit was amazing. When they were making fun of the Matrix and the agent farted on Neo. If you thought that was all poo humor, you should see Chappelle's show. Any more guys? Okay, safe to listen to the radio.
And what is your answer to those saying that he's actually providing a service long overdue to the city?
This crusade nonsense has gone too far. He's out of control. It must stop. He will be stopped.
That was Deputy Chief Jim Bravura from the New York City Police Department.
Jim Bravura is talking about Max Payne on his vigilante escapade, and the people are asking him, should we actually like stop this guy who's providing a service that's long overdue? And this is always a question for vigilantism. Should we have vigilantes ever? Is it justified or moral to have a vigilante somewhere? And pretty much every single superhero story being popular says that yes, there are things that we need that are beyond the control of law. There is something that law cannot do. Justice is not just for the government to handle, it's also for the citizens to handle as well. And there's so many things going on these days, especially these days, where the law is actually making more trouble because people are trying to just live their lives normally. Max has his reasons, and vigilantism was actually a result. Yeah, the big like vigilante thing going on in a lot of pulp stories, it's actually a result of modernity. Because now we have the government take care of everything for us, even down to trying to be the daddy for children. So parents are starting to disappear, education is starting to disappear with government, you know, public education only. Religion is now supposed to be worshipping the politicians. And now even our businesses are being ran by the government in the form of corporations. Because the corporations do what the government wants, especially in places like, you know, China. And these are big problems for our current time. Even back then when Max Payne was being made, even back then when all these noir stories were being made, there are some things that the law cannot handle, or makes worse. So the question of, is Max Payne doing his thing even justifiable? That's a big yes. It is justified. And only somebody who's, how would you say, like a hyper-authoritarian sort, like a heavily authoritarian, like totalitarian even, only they would say only the law should be able to handle this kind of situation. The law is the reason why the situation's starting in the first place. And this is beautiful to show after we find out about Project Valhalla. The military was doing something where people were being turned into drug addicts, essentially. And then this drug was being used by a corporation to be thrown out into the streets and create a problem. That is something that Jim Bavura either is unaware of or is too corrupt to accept. And that's why he says he must be stopped. Jim Bavura is a little bit like the, how would you say? Not like an unwilling antagonist, but is that how you say it? Like unwilling antagonist? He's not meant to be an antagonist, but he is becoming one due to this ignorance that he has. And this ignorance is from law. Jim Bavura is supposed to represent like the lawful approach to things, the ethical. And so ethics be damned in this situation. The ethics of allowing the law, especially these modern ethics of having the law take care of everything, no. Max is not going to accept that. Max shouldn't accept that, especially for his position, because Max is somebody who does things by himself. He had to remove himself from the law in order to get anything done. And that's why Max is a vigilante here. And that's also why the second game really fails, because it brings him back into law to have him be the how would you say, the hand of law in a sort of Judge Dredd style, but everything that he does in that game is not really as thematically heavy as this one. So I like this kind of moment. This is actually a very necessary situation. This is a very necessary message for the viewer to see, for the story to be understood a little bit easier. And I do like the idea that vigilantism is being shown in a good light in this kind of situation, because you know, not everybody should be a vigilante because we can't trust everybody who's just going crazy, but there is justifiable vigilantism. And it's kind of like a militia, or something more like, in the older days, we used to have what are duels, and people would duel each other with a sword or with a gun to see if something is right or wrong. You have a disagreement, settle it with a duel. And this became out of practice because the government wanted to handle things instead. No longer are people able to duel recklessly. And that's justifiable because there's people who get drunk and people who are just crazy and trying to duel everybody in their way. There's problems that occur, but then are these tiny problems worse than the new problems that we have now? We didn't have this before, where the government handles everything. Now that we do, we have this new modern problem of the government just ignoring stuff. There's corruption. So at the very least, we can say this is a good message to give to the player, that there are moments where the individual is needed and there's moments when the collective is needed. For tiny things, probably, the collective is okay. For more personal things, the individual is better because it's personal. And that's why this game really gets stuck in our heads, because of this specific message that it's trying to give, where it's trying to give power to the individual. I'll be honest, I don't remember much from The Office, even though I watched a lot of it as a kid. Pretty forgettable. All I remember was that there's that guy who played Dwight, and he was in Super, and the only fuckable character was Pam. Everybody else was pretty much an extra you see at a Walmart. Oh yeah, Mindy was a thing, right? That Indian girl? Orange means locked. Shot down to both of them. Because I gotta follow the green door. Can't make the scene that the doors aren't green. Guess I gotta make a little stop. Gotta tiptoe in this place. Always shotguns around the corner where the fudge is made.
A videotape lay on the desk.
Oh my god, the genuine Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee sex tape. Oh, where do I put this?
Nicole Horn had blackmailed the inner circle into silence. The tape came with a curt extortion note on a piece of expensive paper. I remembered Candy Dawn taping her clients in action on the side, selling the tapes to the highest bidder. I was sure that kinky sex was nowhere near Alfred Woden's worst sin. but I had a feeling that when this was over, any collateral would come in handy.
So this part's really important. It's one of the best parts of the entire game to connect all these different things together, and they put it as an optional that you don't have to view. And I think that's a little bit of a, what would you say? It's a little bit like a disservice for how much importance this scene has, and it's not really given too much clarity. So Nicole Horn, the CEO of Aizer, blackmailed the Inner Circle. And we were probably wondering before, why isn't the Inner Circle doing something about this corporation? If they have so much power, why do they seem powerless? Well, turns out Odin is a little bit of a sexual deviant, as polytheistic gods may do. You know, he pulled a little bit of a Zeus here, and he had sex with a whore who he paid for. It says the tape came with a curt extortion note on the piece of expensive paper, so it's like, this is a very corporate thing. I remembered Candy Dawn taping her clients in action on the side, selling the tapes to the highest bidder. Candy had a diary, and in the diary, she was talking about some like dirty old man, and that was Woden. Woden was going with Candy Dawn. Woden pretty much caused this whole situation simply because he wanted to have sex with what is essentially hell in a noir form. Candy Dawn is hell, and Woden tried to have sex with hell. Woden tried to canoodle with death, and this is what caused Ragnarok. And I would say, in a kind of roundabout way, the death of Woden is what starts... It's like one of the beginning things of Ragnarok. That makes sense now. If we say Candy Dawn caused the death of Woden, and now Woden's kind of like walking around as a zombie because he has this evidence against him. And Max says, well, I'm pretty sure that kinky sex was nowhere near Alfred's worst sin, but I have a feeling that it should be good to keep this videotape somewhere. So there's a videotape on his desk, or on just some desk, and this means that somebody who works at the Inner Circle is able to just pretty much see his sex tape. So Candy was one of the bigger assistants for the Aizer Corporation, this corrupted form of what was previously connected to the Inner Circle. Now the Aizer Corporation is like a shell of its former self, owned by this frost giant, Nicole Horn, the wife of Loki, who is surprisingly more powerful than Loki was. And you can also say that with the death of Angelio Puccinello, now Loki is part of this corporation as well. It's been swallowed by this ginnungagap, and now the entire world is being destroyed simply because Alfred was blackmailed. You know, his Inner Circle helped start it. Yeah, Alfred was trying to say that he helped start the Valhalla project, but he had no hand in causing this epidemic going on in the streets. It's like, no, he kind of did, because his actions were always attached to the situation. His inaction was also attached to the situation. So Max is starting to see a little bit more wisdom from his own ability. Max didn't care about his reputation. He had no reputation to really care for because he lost his family, lost everything. So because Max was starting from the bottom and then now he's here, this caused him to be the hero who sacrifices everything in order to gain this enlightenment. Meanwhile, Woden was being unwise by living this horrible life, but he was even more unwise by not trying to sacrifice things in order to save the world. Because he did not sacrifice things of his own, the world ends up being destroyed. This Ragnarok occurs. And that's a beautiful moment for this kind of story where now Max can see that the wise mentor is actually unwise, but is also slightly wise enough to use somebody else to right the wrongs. If that makes sense. So Woden's not completely hopeless. He's just hopeless for doing things himself. He needs somebody else, this Max, to do things, and Max has nothing. And Woden actually kind of forced the hands of everybody to cause Max to have nothing. No more is he a cop. No more is he somebody who's even respectable. He's technically dead. You know, legally, he's considered dead. There's nothing that he has. So, you know, this man with nothing, he has nothing to lose. This man's to be used to fix the things that Woden wronged with his own inaction and actions. And that's a beautiful thing. I think that's one of the most powerful moments of the whole game. And I never noticed this before because I wasn't paying attention hard enough. And it's so indirect in this moment, it's hard to follow. unless somebody is like very carefully looking at every single word. That's like the pro and the con of having these scenes in comic book panels. Yes, you can pause it and like really examine everything, but at the same time, there's so much density in a lot of these things, we just don't see it unless we're using my, a big brain take like I am.
Woden had left me a present.
Dashing through the snow.
Woden had taken care of my mission preps with military precision. The critical areas in the Acer Corporation headquarters blueprints were circled in red. The president's office was at the top of the building, right below her penthouse suite. The elevators were controlled by a security computer, part of the mainframe located underground below the building. The high-rise was sealed as tight as a sci-fi fortress.
So Odin had taken care of my mission preps with military precision. So Odin gave him a mission to take out Nicole Horn. He has to take out Nicole Horn to take out the corporation. This is how would you say? This is like a cyberpunk cliche. It's like, you take out the CEO, you can take out the whole corporation. It's like, maybe, but the corporation is going to keep on going. Resident Evil does a beautiful job of showing that the corporation just keeps on going. A corporation is a really great way to just keep the evil occurring, because a corporation is such like a big collective that can always just have a different president or CEO, whatever. This is the president's office was at the top of the building, right below her penthouse suite, so Nicole Horn has a penthouse suite in her own office. Her life and her home and everything that she stands for is in this building. So this building goes, this tower, if this goes, then everything about her goes. And this is also a way to show that her house and her represent a giant, a frost giant, Angry Bird. I'm still very convinced that she's supposed to be Angry Bird. And the elevators were controlled by a security computer, part of the mainframe located underground below the building. So in order to get anything done, as the elevators go, you had to go under the building. I don't think that you go through the basement. Do you? No, you go through the lobby. Yeah, you do go through the front lobby like in the Matrix. Which is great. I love how like this part starts to become more like the Matrix. And it is beautiful when we get there. It's too bad that it's not as big. Like the lobby's kind of small, but it's hard to make a lobby scene like that look good in a game, especially when you have something like Matrix Path of Neo try it, and it did not go out as well either. And does anyone remember that game? That was wacky. It says the high-rise was sealed as tight as a sci-fi fortress. Yeah, this is actually where it gets to pretty much like a sci-fi level, and this is also where this game specifically is merging itself from the occult and the gothic elements of the Ragnarok Club over to a sci-fi fortress. You know, there's all these lasers, there's like these sensors, and there's this stuff going on, these traps that are very high-tech, and I wish that there was more sci-fi stuff going on in the second and third game. If only we had sci-fi stuff. This is what Max Payne is all about. It's this merge between noir and diesel punk, and then there's like a little bit of cyberpunk in the form of tech noir. You know, there's like this Blade Runner thing going on, and there's this Norse mythology thing going on as well, like in Metropolis. There's this stuff beautifully thrown together. It's supposed to be sci-fi, in that, like a tiny bit of sci-fi. Just a tiny bit. Add a drone in there, add like a robot maybe. Yeah. If there were robot soldiers, it would fit perfectly, because this is already like, you know, this is something a little bit wacky. You already have drugs that turn people into super soldiers. It should have been used more. This is like going the direction of Wolfenstein, and they didn't do anything with this. I'm getting triggered. I'm sorry. I'm starting to get like all shaken and riled up. I'm like, they didn't do anything. But you understand my point. They should have gone more forward with that. They should have been more wacky with the sci-fi. You know, have a super soldier in a super suit. Have something else that's pulp. You know, add a magician or something. We already fought this weird necromancer Lovecraftian guy with Jack Lupino. That was beautiful. Have more of that. Have more occultness. Have more pulp. The pulp disappeared. It went to neo-noir in the second game, and that's just not the same thing. It was trying to be like, what's that thing called? Basic Instincts. There's one scene where Mona Sachs, she's eating an apple. I always remember that scene because it was just so like on point with trying to be like Basic Instincts. I expected her to be wearing a skirt and like show her pussy when she like crosses her legs. She might as well have done that. If we're going to go that route with the way that everything looked. It's neo-noir, and it's like a thriller, but it's not quite noir. It's not how things used to be. And that subversion of the first game is what caused the second game to just be, not too good. If anything, they could have just done what Quentin Tarantino does, just make a grindhouse. That would have been great, make it a bit more gory. Give Max Payne a chainsaw, make it fun. But, it was kind of fun, sort of, but I'm ranting right now. I'm just delaying the inevitable. I'm going to be playing the second game, I'm going to be, oh my god, this is bad, and that's bad, and this is bad, that's bad. Oh my god. I think you understand my frustration though. It's like you had this great idea, you had this sci-fi fortress for the last level. This is beautiful, everybody loves the sci-fi fortress for the last level. This is what this kind of game is meant to be. You're supposed to have something wacky and exciting and sci-fi in the last level of a shooter game that's kind of grounded. The sci-fi-ness presents you with technology that's above yours, so you have to think higher and think grander, when before you were just fighting, bums on the street. This upgrade and threat is needed. It was not present in any of the games that follow this, and that's a disappointment. That's why if they remake this game, don't you dare take out the sci-fi fortress. Make it more sci-fi, add a robot, alright? When in doubt, add a robot, add an alien, I don't care. You might as well add an alien. Make it more like Deus Ex. I know it sounds silly, but Indiana Jones did it, why can't they? No, that's a joke, but you know what I mean. Now let's check the TV.
Oh joy.
Nothing seems to stop Acer Corporation's phenomenal victory march. Incredibly, the stocks are still rocketing. Worried experts already see a danger in the company's success. Some have gone as far as to say that Acer Corporation is about to become an even bigger monopoly than Microsoft ever was.
You hear that? You hear that thing at the end? She was saying an even bigger monopoly than ever was. That I could have sworn I just heard Microsoft. That was funny. But this is where we see that the Acer Corporation, as much as you are trying to destroy this corporation, this is showing that the corporation is building up. They have more funds. Their stocks are skyrocketing. They already see a danger in the company's success. Some have gone far to say it's going to become a bigger monopoly than other things are. It's a monopoly now. It's ruling everything, and we don't even know what Acer does in the first place. It says a bit closer to heaven, so I believe Acer is supposed to be a communications thing, or at least related to the communications. Because there's choir communications, speak to heaven, whatever it was called. I think that choir communications is part of Acer. And that means everything that's phone related, everything communication related, everything that is information in this information age is being ruled by Acer. So if Acer rules the information and they rule communication, they're going to be ruling everything that is to allow anything knowledgeable or intelligent. So Odin, just gone. Now this frost giant, this chaos, is ruling knowledge. And this is terrible for the world itself. This is why we're going into Ragnarok, because knowledge, information, is being ruled by chaos, being ruled by the frost giant, Nicole Horn. This is a beautiful way to explain the situation that we have now even. It was like this in 2000s, it was like this in the 90s, like this ever since that communication and we entered the digital age, pretty much ever since like the internet was started, and we had like global communication. It's like if somebody has a monopoly on communication, what can you even say? Acer is starting to become more like, Winnie the Pooh. Where communication is heavily regulated and owned by the corporation, owned by this chaos and this frost giant. It's terrible. And this is why Max is a punk. He is against this. He is trying to defeat this corporate overtaking, this fascist regime that's trying to create a monopoly through a corporation. Well, back to the old grind. No, sir, I don't like it. What is that? Oh, Desert Eagle. Everything else is locked? Alright, time to go through here. Should I use the desert? No. Oh my god. Almost got me. Oh, where's he running to? It's running to me. That'll just show you not to mess with the vegan pains. I just dodge his shots like the mats when he becomes Russian. He goes, hoi, 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 hoi. I missed every shot because of banister! I'm still missing! It's leap and Lufthansa proof. Oh my god, that banister! Let's see what happens if I jump off. No, I can't. You win this time, geometry. Let's go downstairs. Intruder alert? You guys are the intruders. That's the pot calling the kettle black. You guys are the you're the one. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where are they coming from? Down there, right? Hey, no, you guys are the intruders. I swear to God, you guys are the intruders. Scout's honor. That was a that was a little anticlimactic. I think I was supposed to see them like charge in there. Intruder alert. That just triggered me. And after all this time I spent here, I still don't know what this building's for. Is this just like a hangout? Or is it like an office building? Looks like I distracted him. Some games track you perfectly, and others go by last known location. I think this game is smart enough to do the location one, but sometimes they run straight at me, so not sure. Are we almost out of here? I could have sworn the exit was around here. Let's ignore those, he can't hit me. He's stupid, he likes karate. Why am I in this building again? Now why am I here? Down the stairs, let's go left. That's the basement. Isn't this where I came from?
The best movie ending ever?
I'll be honest, this mission was done rather poorly. This is the main exit, but it doesn't want me to go here yet. It wants me to follow these fools. Was that the same voice as the goons? These commandos must be local. I missed. Wonderful. Ugh, I always get hit when getting back up. A grenade to replace the one I wasted. Oh, a guy in the suit. So am I looking for Woden in the basement or what? Couldn't Max just leave, call an Uber, be like, alright, I'm on my way to the Iser building, getting some Dunkin' Donuts on the way. Go to Hooters, eat some chicken wings, leave a 14% tip because he's an upstanding American. Okay, I'm just saying nonsense now. This is where I started, isn't it? What is going on? Well, that's anticlimactic. On to the next level, I guess.